And we're back with grilling season in full swing. The Cy-Fair Fire Department wants to remind everyone of the essential safety tips so we can all have a safe and hopefully tasty experience. We're here with Nick Buonarosa, who's the District Chief 9A, District Chief 9A, right? I get that
yes,
right?
Sir.
9A with the Cy-Fair Fire Department. Nick, thanks for being here today.
Thanks for having me.
So look, we've got a lot to talk about. I know you brought some show and tell here, but what's kind of the first thing before we even set up this grill? Is there a top thing we should start with before anything else?
I think the biggest thing is making sure your grill is at least 10 feet away from anything that's combustible, whether it be the structure of the house or any kind of decking, branches over the top of the grill. That'd be your biggest thing on where the grill you want the grill to be at.
Okay, so if we're looking at my house, you're talking about maybe it's a second floor, the cantilevers that comes out.
Definitely stay out underneath those.
Okay,
yes.
What about apartments, condos, places like that where you have a neighbor just a few feet above you?
Well, on apartments, what some people don't know is there's actually a code for Harris County Fire Marshal's office on balconies that they are prohibited from being on the balconies if they have any open flame, whether it's charcoal or if it's propane. Okay. And a lot of lease agreements have that in there that people don't know. And if you have an incident, you could be breaking a lease agreement and they could actually evict you for that.
Get you into some real trouble. Okay, we've got the grill in the right location. What are some safety things we need to keep in mind? It's come time to light the grill now.
So to light the grill, what you want to do is you want to get something like this right here when you talk about propane, which is just soap and water. When you turn on the valve for your propane, spray that water up and down the hose line where the couplings are and the connections. And if you see any bubbling happening, that's a sign there's obviously a leak. You want to go and turn it off and repair that before operating that propane bottle.
Okay, and will that work for any, I mean, some people have them hooked up to natural gas in their home.
Anything. Any natural gas, propane, that soap and water will tell you if there's a leak or not.
Okay, and anything for charcoal that we should consider before we light the charcoal?
Charcoal, I think you want to go ahead and make sure that you use the proper lighter fluid for charcoal. Make sure your charcoals are stored in a dry and cold area.
And I like these chimneys for charcoal. I always felt like back in the day, too much lighter fluid. If you don't put the right amount in, your food starts tasting like lighter fluid. But these will light your charcoal without any lighter fluid at all.
Absolutely. It's the safest way to go ahead and light it too. You can get these at Academy or online. They're relatively cheap. Yeah. Pour your charcoal in there, put some paper on the bottom here, light it. When it gets that nice gray color, pour them in there and you're good to go versus having to use these long matchsticks right here.
You can really burn yourself pretty easily there.
Possibly.
Okay, so we've lit the grill. Now during cooking, what should we keep in mind?
So during cooking, of course, one thing you want to do is make sure you don't leave the grill unattended. Okay. At least have eyes on it, okay? You want to make sure that while you're cooking, you want to use long utensils so that way you don't burn your hand, moving the food around. Clothing. People can wear something real baggy. If you have an apron on, make sure you tie it behind you, not in front of you, so your apron doesn't fall into the fire. And of course, the biggest thing is making sure while you're cooking, have one of these right here.
Fire extinguisher.
Absolutely. As we all know, it needs to be a Class B also. You want that dry chemical. We all know from kitchen fires, grease and water don't mix.
That's right.
So if you do have an incident, close the grill. That will help suffocate it.
What about open shoes? I mean, I feel like some of us are out with our chanclas and flip-flops or whatever, running around at the pool.
Summertime, pool, having a good time. Yeah, absolutely. You want to make sure you have a closed-toe shoe so if an ember falls through, it won't burn your feet.
Yeah. Okay, so food safety is one thing. Obviously, you want to cook your food at the right temperature, et cetera, et cetera.
Absolutely.
But now we're done. We got the food. We got our happy bellies. And this is when we can really start making mistakes because it's like, wow, the hard work's over. Now we can relax. But in fact, this may be the most dangerous part at the end of cooking.
Absolutely. In terms of propane, what you want to do is shut that propane off first at the bottle. Okay, leave your valves open so that way it's almost like a relief valve. You're getting the rest of that propane out of your line, and then you can go ahead and turn off your valves. Okay? Charcoal, different story. This is probably the biggest problem we see when people barbecue is what they do with charcoal when they're done. That charcoal can stay hot at least anywhere from 48 to 72 hours after you cook.
48 to
72 hours, we've seen it to where it was still hot, absolutely. What we recommend is let it stay in the barbecue pit for a while, let it cool off. Even when you take it out, I would recommend getting a metal container, even possibly put a little water in it, get that charcoal out, let it sit in there before you completely dispose of it. What we see is people clean up way too quick. They put those charcoals in a plastic bag. That plastic bag goes in those big old green, nice trash cans. They put them either right next to their house or worse, in the garage. And then before you know it, 12 hours later, your house is on fire.
See,
So-
that to me is the scary part, because you don't really know. It's a pile of charcoal, so in that middle, right, all that heat is being trapped in there.
Yep.
And then you think about it, it's nighttime, you're asleep.
You're
The next thing you know, we have to call you guys in the middle of the night.
And by then it's too late.
My goodness, right, because the house is already on fire. I feel like we've covered a lot. Is there anything we missed in terms of safety, tools people need, things we need to keep in mind?
I would say the storage of propane. You want to make sure that you keep that propane bottle stored outside. Okay, propane needs to be stored in temperatures less than 120 degrees, which I know sounds awfully high, but we know here in Houston it can very easily get to 120 degrees or higher in those garages.
Right.
So you want to make sure you keep those propane bottle outside in a well-ventilated area.
So well ventilated. If it's in the shade, obviously that's better. You probably don't want to
Way
leave it out
better.
in the sun, right?
Yes.
Sure. And could we also use the soap and water to check the propane tank itself, make sure it's not leaking?
Absolutely, yeah. If you spray that on there, you'll see there's a leak. Of course, obviously, you want to turn the valve if the valve's cracked open. If it's damaged, I wouldn't recommend trying to fix it yourself.
Yeah.
You could call us so we could properly go ahead and make sure that gets handled the right way.
That was one question I was going to ask you too, just out of nowhere. But I was thinking, man, some of these tanks, they start looking rusty.
Yes.
They start looking banged up. It's like, at what point do I need to just turn this one in?
Yeah, I would definitely go ahead and replace any tank that looks like it's been even remotely compromised.
Right. Don't want to mess with it. All right. Nicholas Buonarosa, District Chief 9A, Cy-Fair Fire Department. Thank you, sir, so much for being here.
I appreciate you having me.
Have a great summer.
You too.